I mean, I think this is just one more aspect of the game that's going to make it a lot more personal. Obviously, in Oblivion, there were different ways you could cheat the system. You know, you could walk and sit in a corner and sneak for hours to get your sneak skill all the way up.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could choose your class to. You could just choose to be a marksman or choose to be a sorcerer. This way, you build your character and you become.
You become more. I mean, like I agree with you 100%. Is that you become what you do, and ultimately, that's really going to help a lot of people tailor their gameplay to their liking. I mean, me personally, when I first played through Oblivion, what they cast me as, I think, was like a witch hunter or something like that. And it was kind of close to what I wanted to be, but it had nothing to do with really what my preferred gameplay was. My preferred gameplay is a thief. I mean, I love sneaking around and taking crap. But as you said, I mean, you build on what you do. It's a lot easier to tailor that gameplay to what the people really want to do.
Exactly. I mean, the same thing happened with me. Every time I went through Oblivion, he'd always give you something that was close to what you want to be, but it was never exactly right. And this way, you know, you'll be exactly what you want to be because the way you level is based on what you do. So it'll be your own personal character, and it'll be one of a kind.
And one of the things that they actually even mention is that the first time you play through that game, I mean, you have no idea what's going to be what's going to be your preferred class. Even if you've played through Morrowind, you may not necessarily know exactly, what's going to be important in this game as compared to the old games. All right, so a little side topic here. We already touched on the safeguards that Bethesda is implementing on Skyrim to prevent exploits of the game mechanics. For instance, we talked about how you sneak up against the wall behind someone in the court or whatever. That ups your sneak skill kind of artificially because anytime you use something. The safeguards that are going to be putting in, they're taking out acrobatics and athletics as far as I know. I think that's true. And that's really going to prevent people from jumping all over the place, and using those exploits to kind of cheat the game. What are your thoughts on that at all?
I think it's a great idea, and like you said, taking about acrobatics and athletics is a great idea because everyone's going to run in the game. It's part of the game. It's how you travel, unless you have a horse, which it was possible, but most of the time, wherever you go, you're going to be running. Everyone's athletic skill is going to increase, and having that as one of your main stats would just be an easy way to level. Same with acrobatics. You'd just be jumping everywhere. And I think it's a great way to make the game more personal and get you more in depth with the game. And
the thing about it is that I am one of those people. I completely exploited whatever I could. I hopped around. Yeah. I hopped all over the place. I propped my controller up against the wall and let it sneak behind, the castle countess or whatever. But I think that in order to have a really complete gaming experience, you need to really limit as much as you can on the exploits of a game. Not only to make it fair, but also to help make it challenging. Because, after I got my sneak up to 100% as, a warrior, that's really, really, it's overpowered in a way. And it's just not really fair to yourself or anything else. So, alright, next topic. The menu system in Oblivion really did serve its purpose, but it wasn't really anything special. The new menu system that they have is really going to add a little bit more entertainment side of things. I don't know. When I played through Oblivion, I really didn't find the menu system to be, obtrusive or anything on the gameplay. It certainly wasn't,
Right, there's nothing bad about it, but
yeah. I mean, a lot of people are saying that it kind of stopped gameplay. You had to go into a different menu with all these, just a list of texts and images. The new one's gonna have actually 3D images that you can look at. It's gonna have anything that you really want to look at. You can in 3D space, and ultimately, I think that that's really gonna improve the experience. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's just one more thing that's going to make the game much more entertaining. I mean, like you said, there's nothing wrong with the Oblivion menu screen, but it kind of stopped gameplay. You just kind of went in there to organize your stuff, do what you needed, and now that they're making it more entertaining and more 3D and, better to look at, it's going to feel like, it's going to be a nice smooth flow and a nice transition from pausing the game to level up or select equipment to, going back to the action.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. Oh, one thing that I did want to mention, since the timeline has jumped ahead 200 years, in my eyes, there should be at least some technological advances between here and Skyrim. Really, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's based during a Middle Age, sword and shield type period where the technology did improve over time, but not an immense amount. And honestly, I don't expect to see much new technology in Skyrim, and I'm okay with that. I mean, there's nothing I wish, it's 200 years later, I wish you could. I mean, there's nothing I can really think of that they could do, but I think it'll still be good regardless.
I agree. It'll be still good, but I mean, anything that they would throw in there would be well appreciated. I mean, it's not expected even at this point, but like I said, I'm sure that they've already thought of that. They're obviously, Genius is working over there, and they're trying their hardest to make the game as good as possible. But I just kind of wanted to touch on that and see what your thoughts were, just because of that time jump. Because all of the Elder Scrolls series is taking place in the Third Era. And 200 years is, a couple of lifetimes. That's quite a while. Yeah. But anyways, we'll move on here to the conversation. The conversations in the Elder Scrolls has evolved with each entry into the series, and Skyrim is really no exception. The new conversation design is going to make conversation a lot more natural. I mean, in Oblivion, the world would almost come to a grinding halt, and characters would stop dead in their tracks. And in Skyrim, characters are actually continue doing what they're doing. If they're a bartender is going to keep on tending bar while he's talking to you, the world around you is not going to stop, which is really, really useful in creating that immersion. I mean, what do you think?
I think it's great. I mean, I personally had a big problem with everything stopping in the background in Oblivion. For instance, you could accidentally click on somebody and talk to them, and in the background there would be a fireball about to smoke them in the face, and they were just totally unaware and just go on having their conversation. And another thing I had a problem with was not so much a problem, but I felt it was unnatural. People, the facial expressions on people and how they thought of you would change, whether they were doing what they're doing, but then when you would talk to them, their face could go completely different. And I think having a more natural conversation and even having the characters move around while they're talking to you will be really great, and it'll be just one more thing to make the game feel a lot more realistic, and it'll really help you get involved in the experience.
Yeah, that's very, very true. All right, so now we come to the big topic, dragons. Among all of the unique features of Skyrim, dragons are really the main theme, and up until this point, a series that's been heavily based in mythology and medieval times has avoided dragons, and now they're bringing it back. Really, what do you think?
I think it's great. I mean, I think dragons going to be awesome, and from what you've told me, they're not going to be easy to fight. They're going to be a real pain, and I like a challenge. I don't like a super challenge. I don't like to get frustrated, but it should be fun regardless. And what I imagine Bethesda doing with Skyrim is going to be with the dragons is going to be a lot like the Oblivion Gates, which they did perfectly in Oblivion, where there were 3 or 4 you had to do for the main quest line, even though there were multiple ones scattered throughout the whole world. And I imagine they'll do the same thing in Skyrim, where there will be dragons you have to fight, and there will be a ton that you don't have to fight, but you still have the option to, and you'll get a nice little reward if you do. And
which brings us to our next topic. So what you get from them is dragon shouts. Honestly, I think I couldn't think of any better reward than getting an exclusive power that you really couldn't attain otherwise. And as far as the dragon's difficulty go, I mean, I would think that a dragon should be something that's it should be fairly difficult for a person to beat realistically.
It shouldn't be easy to kill, yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I really hope that they do make it really difficult, just to the point where it's almost to the point where you can't do it, but it'll just make that victory so much the sweeter. Because,
exactly.
I mean, even the guy says that you've got 2 choices here. Todd Howard's what I'm talking about. You have 2 choices here. You can either stand and fight and take your chances against a freaking dragon, or you can haul ass out of there, and try to find cover, because obviously, a dragon on your ass, you're not gonna want to be standing around taking flames. What I'm wondering is whether or not these dragon shouts are going to be more akin to the once-a-day powers that you got in Oblivion, where they were immensely powerful, but you could only use them once in that day. What do you think that's the direction that Bethesda's going to take, or what?
I hope so. I mean, that would be awesome. You know, you'd have these superpowers. It would be a great incentive for going and killing these dragons, and it'd be a great reward. You'd feel awesome. You'd be like, oh, dude, I have this awesome power now, and I mean, it really helped to make your character more powerful and help you evolve through the game, and I mean, I think it'd be great. It'd be epic.
All right, well, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm getting jacked up as the days goes on even more and more, up until 11/11/11. What about you? Think that's too much of a time for you to wait?
I mean,
how long have we been waiting for it already?
I've been waiting for a long time, but I didn't know it was coming out until a couple months ago. But it's always bittersweet when a game takes forever to come out, because I don't want them to rush it. I want them to make it as great as it can, and it's usually worth the wait when that happens. So
all right, well,
I say take their time.
I agree 100%. All right, well, that's all the time. That's all the information that we have for today. We're currently working through some more technical difficulties on the part 2 of the Morrowind retrospective, but the good news is that we've worked out the issues, and it should be up next week. We want to thank you for visiting. I'm going to thank my friend here, Genome, for having a conversation with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Please leave your comments for us, and we will see you next time. Peace.